was wondering if we could talk a little bit about you and where you grew up. I know you're from the Midwest originally. Can
Yeah,
you
I
talk
think
a
you and
bit
I
about
have that
that?
in common.
Yeah, tell me
I
about it.
grew up, I was born in Denver, and but I grew up mostly in South Dakota, Rapid City, South Dakota, where Mount Rushmore is. And that is a beautiful area of the country. And it is a relatively rural area, although I did not grow up on a farm. I grew up in that city or town. And my father was a engineer, mechanical engineer, who was a professor and department head at the local college called South Dakota School of Mines and Technology. So I had 3 brothers and sisters, and we had a great time growing up there. Lots of things to do outside, the Black Hills, skiing, lake sports, hiking, but really idyllic childhood, I think.
Yeah, a very safe place to grow up and focus on education.
Yeah.
Tell us about what made you pursue a career in medicine. How did you how old were you when you knew you wanted to be a doctor, and why did you choose that?
I always wanted to be a teacher or a librarian at first. I'm sort of glad well, I'm still a teacher in a way.
I could see
I went to I actually did my PhD first. So I was a scientist before I was a physician. I did my PhD at Harvard in molecular genetics, developmental biology with fruit flies, or Drosophila. And at the time, it was a really interesting time in Boston. There were lots of ethical discussions around genetics, and it was just a really exciting and provocative community. And I really enjoyed interactions with my colleagues in the lab who had a medical background and and I liked the kind of things that they were working on, the applied aspects of the basic biology that we were considering. So when I finished, I decided to apply to medical school. Again, sort of mainly I guess because I liked interactions with people, and I really wanted to be able to help people a little more directly than with dissecting fruit fly embryos.
Yeah, they don't talk
But that was a fantastic. Was really a fantastic community and time in my life, and exposed me to lots of really interesting questions that I think are really pertinent now and in medicine. And some of those I worked. My graduate thesis was on homeobox genes and epigenetic regulation, and that's becoming a really important aspect of cancer, because how do you through time and development of an embryo or cancer cells control regulation of genes, and through the wrapping up the chromatin and thinking about accessibility to chromatin. So
yeah. Okay, so you finished your PhD, you applied to medical school.
Yeah, and then I went to medical school, and I loved it. I did a lot of research during medical school and in my training in the lab. Again, sort of working on those translational projects, things that really matter to patients and their care, but trying to look at them from the real scientific aspect. And so I went to New York City, where I went to medical school and did my training, and ultimately ended up being an attending at Memorial Sloan Kettering, and it was a really also again exciting time with lots of great colleagues. And
do you remember like a moment when you thought, I want to be an oncologist, or did you go into medical school thinking about treating cancer patients, or what was the evolution there?
I think the evolution was partially emotional and partially partially left and right, both sides of the brain. I think that I had a really key experience on my medicine clerkship where I was taking care of cancer patients. At that time, there were a lot of HIV patients, and they were getting malignancies in cancer. And I think that I just developed a lot of really great relationships with those patients. And again, seeing how the doctors around me managed to create connections to patients at such a critical time in their lives, and how much that made a difference in the anxiety levels and understanding of the patient. So that really motivated me. And then at the same time, scientifically, there was so much going on in cancer and molecular biology that it just really was exciting.